copy? Maybe. Not sure if those are up there.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're not on there. So the nice thing about 100 base pair markers is they're, I think they start at 200, so 200, 300, 400, 500 base pairs. That's right. Okay, so please refer to this picture that I've given all of you. This picture right here. Look on somebody else's. Three people in the group. No one's prepared. Come over here and look at this group then. When you get a job in industry, you have to be prepared. Okay, so get where you can look at this. If not, you look on somebody else's or whatever, because you're going to want to know this information. So just to remind you, we did THO1, TPOX, and CSF1PO. That's what we were amplifying in the PCR reaction. Now, in the PCR reaction you did on the acrylamide gel, so two things. We actually divided the sample between agarose and acrylamide, so it wasn't very dark. It was your first time doing it, so it may not have come out perfectly, which is fine. You're not getting graded on results, but your explanation of results. And so some of them may not have been as clear as others. I think a lot of times the THO1 was clearer than the TPOX and the CSF1PO. But basically you have three different size ranges you can see in a PCR reaction on your gel. Now, normally, if you're doing a gel, to separate them out, you're doing a long gel like this one, much, much longer than the one that you did. And also notice it has sort of a yellow color to it. And that's because when we were doing this part of the experiment, we did what's called silver staining. And I put the protocol for silver staining in your lab manual just in case you're interested to know how it goes. And that's what EH&S came to us and said, you're using formaldehyde with undergrad students, you can no longer do this. So we had to stop that part of the experiment, and that part of the experiment got substituted with basically just having a previous shell. Thank you. Okay, so three different size ranges. This size range right here is the THO1 right here. And if you're looking, THO1 goes from 5 repeats to 11 repeats. Most people have between 5 and 11 repeats. And so as we learned in class, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on these markers. So you have to note and see, which one it lined up with. So this person, in this lane right here, lined up with 5, 6, 7 right here, and 8, 9. And actually, if you look at this band right here, you'll see it's higher than a 9 and lower than a 10. And if you look at your statistical tables, which I'll point out the page number in just a moment, if you look at your statistical tables, on your statistical tables for THO1, there's something called 9.3. And so this is a statistically significant abnormality that cropped up and has been propagated throughout many generations. And a certain percentage of people have more than 9 and less than 10 full repeats at that site. They're missing a base. And so instead of having the normal 4 repeats there, they're missing one, so it's called 9.3, because 4 would be the full complement of the repeats. So when you're looking at statistical tables, this would be a 9.3 right there. And there are a couple other examples in some of the others where, if you're in between, look at the statistical table to see what kinds of options you have for that table. This is your TPOX right here. Your TPOX goes from 6 to 13. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So you can look at this and say, what is it closest to when you are deciding how many repeats for this person in this lane right here. So how the gel goes is marker, person, person, marker, person, person, marker, person, person. So there'll always be a marker next to you. This schmutzy mark right here, that's on the overhead projector, so you might need to move the gel over, back and forth if you're picking a particular person, so that you can see your chosen lane. And this is CSF1PO. You can see how these are closer together, between 6 and 15. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And you can pick out, what someone is closest to there. And so, just as a reminder of what you're doing with this, you're going to look at the statistical tables on page, let me get there. Turn to the end. Got too many loose pages here. Okay. Page 141. 140 and 141. So if you're looking, I think, at page 140, you should see at the bottom CSF1PO, and so there's two different statistical tables on page 140. The bottom one is CSF1PO, and you should look and see the possibilities are from around 6 to around 15. I think they have a 5 in there because a certain number of people have 5 repeats, but basically 6 to 15. And then if you turn to page 141, you'll see THO1, because they're in alphabetical order, THO1, and then TPOX after that. So you should have all 3 statistical tables in there. So
I think it's 139,
sorry,
140, and 141.
Sorry, 139, 140, 141. So matching them up with how many repeats there are. So look for the one that has 6 to 13, that's the TPOX, 5 to 11, that's the THO1, so you can match them up. And when you're doing that, you're going to be looking at your person, and you're going to be coming here and saying, okay, well, I've got, person number 1, here's what I have for THO1, here's what I have for TPOX, here's what I have for CSF1PO. You're then going to go to those statistical tables, and you're going to say, okay, well, assuming that I have Caucasian American, or assuming that I have African American, whatever you decide you want to assume your suspect is. You can do how you would self-identify if you want to. So it doesn't matter which statistical set of tables you use, as long as you indicate which one you're using in your lab report. And so you're going to have all those probabilities. So if you're looking on a statistical table, for THO1, there's going to be a certain probability, if you're looking on this original page again, there's going to be a certain probability for having a 6 and a certain probability for having an 8. And so you take the 2 times the probability of 6 times the probability of 8, 2, because there's 2 different ways of having it if they're heterozygous, and multiply those out. And then if you were doing person number 6 on TPOX, for example, you're going to look up the probability of 8. And that would just be 8, the probability of 8 squared for that one, because there's only one way you can be an 8-8. You had to inherit that from both your mother and your father. So make sure you are, that you know how to do these statistics, and because I don't want everybody to pick the same person, there's a list of 1 to 10 over there, which should correspond with the 10 people on here. No more than 2 people in the class can pick any one person. So I want everybody to come up here, 1 or 2 or 3 at a time, whatever. Gather around, up here. Choose your person. Decide how many repeats you have, and we're going to do this right now. And then when you choose your person, write your name down so we're sure that only 2 people are picking any one person, so we're gonna do that first, so go ahead and do that. And remember, you can move the gel back and forth if you need, but you should not touch the gel with fingers or pens or anything like that. It's underneath. I know. Trust me, I've tried.
Have we lifted the glass?
You have to lift it from this side,
Yeah.
so, but they can move it back and forth.
Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was shopping?
Oh, just fine. I got the fruit, I got the juice, I got the muffins. Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna, first thing, I'm gonna order Einstein. Wouldn't let me order today for tomorrow, because it says they're closed.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah,
Don't worry, they're right there.
yeah, I know. So I'll just do it as soon as I wake up at 6 a.m. Give them an hour and a half to get coffee with it.
Yeah, I gotta get up early. Everything's ready tomorrow.
All the keys and everything.
The keys are with me.
You want me to set everything